Welcome back to Shop Talk. Tyres is the subject for today. We're going to start with mountain bike tyres.
Here we've got a small selection of tyres, but we're not so much talking to you about the particular brand or whatever. We want you to be able to choose your tyre yourself. So firstly, what sort of terrain are you riding on and what sort of ride do you want? So if you want to ride on a hard pack surface or sometimes a bit of bitumen with a little bit of dirt, then you would ride a faster tyre that you didn't need the grip. For that, tonight we have this tyre here. What you can see there is it's got a
Sort of tread pattern.
Yeah, and this tyre is going to be fairly narrow and it's got a little bit of grip. So this is good bike path, a little bit of gravel, turn in the corners, you've got a bit of grip there, but you don't have big jumps between the treads. So the tyre's not going to be hitting bang, bang, bang along the road. So it will be a fast tyre, but if you take it up to the Alpine Resort and think that you're going to get good performance out of the tyre, it's going to pinch flat, it's going to clog up with mud, it's going to slip everywhere. Not a good choice for that. So we'll put that one aside. Then you go to a cross-country tyre, and this is what comes on our Epics. There's no definitive gap between the tread here. You have each block runs onto each block, so the tyre is going to be fast to ride on, and the tread is curved, so when you corner, it's going to corner kind of like a slick with a bit of tread. It's not going to bite into the mud. It's going to clog up with mud easily, but fast, light, there's not a lot of weight in the tread pattern. It's really a dry, hard packed tyre.
As opposed to, this is more squarer on the edges.
Yep.
This one here is more rounded.
And all those blocks of rubber are extra weight on the tyre.
Correct.
Right? So this is going to be good to sort of corner on hard pack and stuff like that, and the tyre's not going to distort. Don't skid on it, it will wear it out straight away. But still a really, really good, fast, lightweight tyre, specifically for off-road, where this is on and off-road. Then we go to a little bit more chunky stuff, and this is where you're coming around the corner, there's a bit of mud. Now, just to clear something up here, the more peaks on the tyre's riding on that. It's like a stiletto in mud. It pushes through the mud and hits the hard pack underneath. So we call that force per unit area. So this has a higher force per unit area. It will bite through the mud.
May the force be with you.
The force is, right? So that you bite through the mud, it'll pick the mud up, but if the tyre's shaped well, it will have like a V pattern to it. And if you set the tyres up correctly, when the tyre clogs up and you drive and spin, the mud exits the tyre. So we call that self-cleaning. So this is high force per unit area and it's a self-cleaning tyre. It's terrific for a light mud, but it's also light enough to get up the hills as well. So it's a fairly light, soft wall tyre with a bit of chunk. If you really get into the sides of these rubber blocks, if they're too long, the bike feels like it's going to understeer a little bit, so it can't be ridden on hard pack. It's got to be ridden on mud. This is still in the safe zone. You can ride this on hard pack. The side blocks are tight. I love this tyre, but you've got big gaps between, so if you're riding along the bitumen, it's going to make a big tractor noise sound on the road and it's going to slow you down a little bit.
Like a four-wheel drive. You touched on something there in terms of if the tyre's set up correctly. How does someone set the tyre up correctly?
So rotation forward. So what I said about the tyre self-cleaning, the back wheel when you're driving, it self-cleans as it's driving, but because the front wheel doesn't drive, it can't self-clean, so it just clogs up. So we turn them backwards, and when you brake, the tyre self-cleans under brakes.
So just to clarify, you don't have to ride backwards to clear your front tyre.
No.
Right.
Yeah, but you've got to be careful of your back wheel going forwards.
Right.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I love this tyre. I think it's a great all-round tyre for mountain biking. Now we're going a little bit heavier again. I'll just
Put that one away.
that one. What I love about this is it's sort of bulletproof. Like you can hit rocks and it's heavy. Like it weighs a lot.
It does.
It's got big chunks here, not much tread. This is a bit more for the aggressive downhill. You're going to bite through the mud. You're going to lean, it really hooks in. If you come around a corner and there's a bunch of kangaroos on the trail, which happened yesterday, jump on the anchors, you can slow down really quickly. Mud will fly everywhere and you get a really, really good feel for the ground. But you've got to pedal it back up the hill. Correct. And a way you can make these tyres a little bit lighter is run them tubeless. However, if you like jumping and like a little bit of air time, if you land a bit crooked and you're running low pressure, if you like that feeling in the tyre can roll, air can escape, which is called burping. And it just goes flat. And if you haven't got a tube, you need to be able to get air really into the tyre quickly with an Instaflate. You can't really do it with a hand pump.
Tubes, as an example, in terms of weight, on a mountain bike tyre, 2 tubes. I know there's different tube manufacturers and whatnot, but you know, your standard tube weight can be round about half a kilo.
Wow.
I weighed mine, they're just under 500 grams for the 2 tubes.
If you're riding a 650 plus, which is the bigger bag, it's going to be even more. If you're riding a fat bike, it's even more.
Oh, exactly.
If you want to reduce the weight of your bike, or even you want to reduce the weight of your toolkit, if you go to a wonderful shop like we're in now, at bikeNOW, we have choices. We have normal, butyl rubber, and lightweight.
Well, they're about 115 grams. And they're probably around about double. Excellent. Now, what have we got here?
Well, with Mavic, they have a power link and a grip link. And you can probably figure out the power link is for the rear and the grip link is for the front. I run a 25 front, nice big soft bag to give you a nice soft ride all the time. Run lots of pressure in them. They're a soft compound rubber. And man, do they grip. I mean, they really...
They are. They're lovely.
I actually think that's the best cornering tyre that I've ever had, wet or dry.
Well, just on these two, we've had 2 seasons, the last 2 seasons in Europe on these tyres, and in the mountains they are fantastic.
And then I run a power link on the rear. We do, in 60 days, we do just under 4,000 Ks in 60 days. So you're gonna get about 3,000 Ks out of a pair of tyres. And they're not the cheapest tyres, but they're beautiful. All-rounder, favourite tyre. Puncture resistance isn't bad. Wear is terrible. Price is not great, but man, if you're into riding your bike for fun, I love them.
Yep.
I love them. I'm not going to throw them because I love them too much.
Now, this one's a bit of a different colour. What's this about?
What this tyre is, the old singles and glue-on tyres, the rim didn't have to be as strong because it didn't have to support the pressure of the tyre expanding. They were just glued on. This is a release. I love the commitment here. They've made a cotton tyre. Now, cotton feels a lot softer to ride. It feels like you're well looked after on the bike and everything's sort of huggy and quiet and beautiful feeling. Puncture resistance is pretty low. You've got to take a spare gas cartridge and a couple of spare tubes or just stay out of the glass because they do puncture really easily, but the ride quality is magnificent. And I haven't ridden far enough on these to know how long they will last. And this is the workhorse, the turbo. Just a fabulous tyre. If you come in and grab a tyre just for everyday use, replace it frequently.
I'm riding these at the moment.
No complaints, they're great. And there's other brands that do similar sort of tyres. Specialized do a great job. We'll just give them a little bit of a plug here. If you're unhappy, you bring them back and we exchange them for something else. We'll give you your money back. Usually people are happy with this tyre. The prices have come down dramatically. So you can buy a really good standard turbo tyre for about $49.
One of the things I like about just riding the bigger bag or the bigger tyre size, just in itself, so as you said, the tyre itself might be just an okay tyre, but running that bigger tyre size is just such a great feeling.
It's got a limit though, hasn't it? You can't just put a 28 on any bike.
Well, that's correct. So depending on your bike, obviously tyre widths are governed by the geometry, the area in your fork, the area in your chain stays, the
Has
area
you got enough room
in your seat stays. Basically, have you got enough room to put a bigger tyre in? This is one of the advantages, and we've discussed this, or we will discuss it in the future, of disc brakes. Disc brakes are enabling bike manufacturers to free up space in other parts of the frame to accept a larger tyre size.
And most of the bikes nowadays are realising the trend's going towards it. So you might be riding a slightly old school bike and want to run a 28. You won't be able to. I mean, the most you probably can run on an old school bike is a 25. But as trends go forward, people are realising things are evolving. They're opening up the frames a little bit. Sometimes we're squeezing a 26 in a bike, it barely fits. But this is why it's really important to go into your bike shop, get a great deal on some tyres, but make sure you can bring them back and change them, or try a pair of wheels out and get some great advice from your local retailer about choosing the right tyre.
Just whilst we're on it, one of the issues with on a standard caliper brake, a caliper brake looks like that. So what happens is the rim fits in here, but the size of the tyre will actually hit the brake here. So the top of the brake caliper is actually braking the bike, as opposed to the brake pads, which sit on the tips of your fingers. So that's the...
Yeah, and it might be the difference between running 105 psi and 115 psi. That extra 10 psi just expands the tyre a bit more and it touches. So
exactly.
Anyway, I hope that clears up a little bit about choosing tyres. See you next time.